Once Upon a Time, and Other Child Verses. By Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman. Preface. T. Rusting to the sweet charity of little folk. T. To find some grace, in spite of halting rhyme, and frequent telling, in these little tales. I say again, now, once upon a time. Once upon a time. And now, once upon a time, a nest of fairies. Was in a meadow neath a wild rose tree. And once upon a time, the violets clustered so thick around it one could scarcely see. And once upon a time, a troop of children came dancing by upon the flowery ground. And once upon a time, the nest of fairies, with shouts of joy and wonderment they found. And once upon a time, the fairies fluttered on purple winglets, shimmering in the sun. And once upon a time, the nest forsaking, they flew off through the violets, every one. And once upon a time, the children followed with loud halloos along the meadow green. And once upon a time, the fairies vanished, and never more could one of them be seen. And once upon a time, the children sought them for many a day, but fruitless was their quest. For once upon a time, amid the violets, they only found the fairy's empty nest. The sick fairy. Berew some tea, o cowslips, make some. B. Poppy gruel. Serve it in a buttercup, ah, 'tis very cruel that she is so ailing, pretty Violetta. Locust, stop your violin, till she's feeling better. The enchanted tale of Banbury Cross. Ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross, to see an old woman jump on a white horse, with rings on her fingers and bells on her toes. She shall make music wherever she goes. Old nursery rhyme. P. Ray showed the way to Banbury Cross. P. Silver bells are ringing. To find the place I'm at a loss. Silver bells are ringing. Past 6 tall hollyhocks red and white. Then turn the corner toward the right. Pass 4 white roses, turn once more. Go by a bed of gillyflower, and one of primrose, turn again. Where, glittering with silver rain, there is a violet bank, then pass a meadow green with velvet grass, where lovely lights and shadows play, and white lambs frolic all the day, where blooming trees their branches toss. Then will you come to Banbury Cross. The white horse arched his slender neck. Silver bells are ringing. Snow white he was without a speck. Silver bells are ringing. An old wife held his bridle rein. The king was there with all his train. Her gray hair fluttered in the wind. Her gaze turned inward on her mind, and not one face seemed she to see in all that goodly company. Gems sparkled on her withered hands. Her ankles gleamed with silver bands, on which sweet silver bells were hung. And always, when she stirred, they rung. The white horse waited for the start. Silver bells are ringing. Before him leapt his fiery heart. Silver bells are ringing. Up on his back the old wife sprung. Her silver bells, how sweet they rung! She gave her milk white steed the rein, and round they swept, and round again. A merry sight it was to see, and the silver bells, the old wife, rang lustily. The gallant horse with gold was shod, so fleetly leapt he o'er the sod. He passed the king before he knew, and past his flying shadow flew. A pretty sight it was, forsooth. Silver bells are ringing for dame and children, maid and youth. Silver bells are ringing. The princess laughed out with delight, and clapped her hands so lily white. The darling princess, sweet was she as any flowering hawthorn tree. She stood beside her sire, the king, and heard the silvery music ring, and watched the white horse o'er the sweep round, and round, and round again, until the old wife slacked his pace before the princess' wondering face, then snatched her up before they knew. Silver bells are ringing, and with her from their vision flew. Silver bells are ringing. The nobles to their saddles spring, and follow, headed by the king. But when they reach it, it is gone. The white dew falls, the sun is set, and no trace of the princess yet. They gallop over meadows green. They leap the bars that lie between. Through the cool woodland ride they now, 'neath rustling branches, bending low. The silver music draws them along the beams of moonlight pale. Silver bells are ringing in violet shadows in the vale. Silver bells are ringing. Return with us, O gracious King! This search is but a bootless thing. A spell is laid upon our minds. Our thoughts are tossed as by the winds, and deeper o'er our senses swells the music of those silver bells. Return, O King, ere 'tis late. The wise man by the palace gate will give to thee his kindly aid. So shalt thou find the royal maid. They galloped back o'er hill and dale. Silver bells are ringing. In soft gusts came the southern gale. Silver bells are ringing. The trembling king knelt down before the wise man at the palace door. O wise man! Art thou truly wise? Find out my child with thy bright eyes. Thy daughter clings to carven stone. White dove wings from her shoulders grown. In downy dove plumes is she dressed. They shine like jewels on her breast. She sits beneath the minster eaves, amongst the clustering ivy leaves. She was so full of angel love. Silver bells are ringing. They could but make her a white dove. Silver bells are ringing. The king stood 'neath the minster wall, and loudly on his child did call. A snow-white dove beneath the eaves looked down from 'mongst the ivy leaves, then flew down to the monarch's breast, and sorely panting, there did rest. Then spake the wise man by his side, O king, canst thou subdue thy pride, and hang thy crown beneath the eaves, amongst the clustering ivy leaves, in thine unhappy daughter's place? Silver bells are ringing, for thus she'll find her maiden grace. Silver bells are ringing. The jewels in the royal crown, out from the dark green ivy shone. The white dove softly folds her wings, then lightly to the ground she springs, a princess sweeter than before. For being a white dove an hour, they went home through the happy town. The king forgot his royal crown, and soon beneath the minster eaves 'twas hidden by the ivy leaves. A burying. And now Susan Jane a burying goes, and with her dipper and pail a bury ing goes. Now Susan Jane creeps dolefully home, and mournfully hangs her head, for she tumbled down and bumped her nose. She tore her frock and she stubbed her toes, and the blueberries all were green, alas! And the blackberries all were red. Two moods. Meadows shadowy and sunny. Pink with clover, sweet with honey. Green with grass that shakes and swings, rustling till it almost sings. From her open windows show, for a pleasant mile or so, she with earnest, pensive look, bending o'er an open book, her own happy self forgets, following a story child's pretty pleasures and regrets, straightening up her golden head. Now she sees the fields instead, where the grass and clover stir, and her glad self and her day radiantly come back to her. The three Marjorie Daws. Seesaw, seesaw, up and down we gay. S-L-Y go. Seesaw, seesaw, such a lovely teeter, oh. Seesaw, seesaw, grass across a daisy stalk. Up and down the robins teetered with their silvery talk. Seesaw, seesaw, robins, they know how to play. Seesaw, seesaw, as well as children any day. Seesaw, seesaw, lads and lassies, don't you know? Grass across a daisy stalk makes a lovely teeter, oh. A little seamstress, as he sat in her little rocking chair, a sigh. S-ing, and twirling her thumbs. Oh, everything for my doll is done, and never to mending comes. I haven't a morsel of sewing, dear mother, in all the town. Can't you find me one doll, no matter how small, who will wear out her gown? The golden slippers. Ladies ready for the ball. But she's lost her golden slippers. And the servants scurry all from the pantry, from the hall, brooms in hand, and spoons and dippers. Ah, my lady's golden slippers! Footman, cook, and housemaid, run! Hunt ye nimbly, every one! Round they whirl, the lightsome trippers, and the music has begun. Ah, my lady's golden slippers! Hurry, hurry, for she yet, if ye find her golden slippers, may lead off the minuet, with the Prince of Papinet, foremost of the stately steppers. Ah, my lady's golden slippers! Guess ye where they found them all, dancing bravely at the ball. Of themselves, these frisky slippers, wheeling at the fiddle's call. Ah, my lady's golden slippers! The tithing man? Biani sweet marjoram was in flower. The pinks had come with their spices. Sweet. Through the village sounded the Sabbath bell, and the reverent people flocked down the street. Little Elizabeth, prim and pale, a decorous little Puritan maid, walked soberly up the meeting-house hill, with a look on her face as if she prayed. Her catechism was in her hand. Unvexed was she by the scholar's art. Her simple lessons she simply learned, and loved the Father with all her heart. Her little kerchief was white as snow. Like a rose she looked in her Sunday gown, as she soberly climbed the meeting-house hill, with her pretty eyes east meekly down. Little Elizabeth sat alone, in the queer old-fashioned oaken pew, and earnestly on the parson bent her modest, innocent eyes of blue. But, the sermon was deep and long. The parson spoke with a weary drone, and she heard the honeybees out of doors hum in a drowsy monotone. The very wind had a sleepy sound. Little Elizabeth began to nod, though she told herself 'twas a dreadful thing to fall asleep in the house of God. My fourth Liz, the parson droned. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, mused little Elizabeth in amaze. And then, ah me! She fell asleep. The tithing man crept down the aisle, in solemn state, with his awful rod, to chide the folk in the meeting-house, who dared to whisper, or smile, or nod. Little Elizabeth soundly slept, all by herself, in the oaken pew, with the heavy gold-fringed eyelids drooped over her innocent eyes of blue. Close to her tiptoed the tithing man, and over her reached his awful rod, and poked the little Puritan maid for falling asleep in the house of God. Dear little Elizabeth, prim and pale, how her poor heart jumped when she woke and found the dreaded tithing man at her side, and the queer poke bonnets all turning round. Then she sat straight up in the old oak pew, grave and pale as a lily flower. But she thought the people all looked at her, while all their eyes did lower and glower. And, going home, she fancied the birds called back and forth, with a knowing nod, There's the little maid whom the tithing man caught fast asleep in the house of God. The barley candy boy. Oh, the barley candy boy. Oh, the bar. Oh, lay candy boy, who lived in the toyman's window, 'tis little he had of joy, for he could not eat a bit of sweet, nor any sugar at all, unless he ran a fearful risk of being a nibble. Down in the clover, a duet with sheep obbligato, feeding lambs and springing grass. There sat a little lad and lass, a green umbrella overhead, the flickering shade of boughs instead, and read a book of fairy rhyme, all in their gay vacation time. Quoth he, the dearest, queerest story was that one of the fairy prince, who sailed downstream in his pearl dory, 'neath boughs of rose and flowering quince, to save the lovely princess whom the wicked, white-haired, old witch lady kept in a tower of awful gloom, deep in a magic forest shady. How proud he tossed his plumed head before the witch's door and said, Sheep, ba, ba, Honey sweet the clovers, blowing. Ba. Juicy green the grasses, growing. I think, quoth she, there's one that's better. About that little fairy girl, who bound the ogre with a fetter of spiderwort and grass and pearl. Then singing in the gateway sat, till up the road the prince came prancing, a jeweled feather in his hat, and set the cherry boughs a-dancing. How low he bent his handsome head before the fairy girl, and said, Sheep, ba, who the day so sweetly passes, as a lamb who never stops, but from dawn to twilight crops clover heads and dewy grasses? Well, by and by I think I'll be a fairy prince as brave as he. I'll wind a silver bugle clear, low and dim you'll hear it dear. A sword with jeweled hilt I'll bear, a cap and heron plume I'll wear, and I will rescue you, quoth he. Fast to the witch's tower I'll, and beat upon the gate, and cry, Sheep, ba. Sweet the simple life we're leading, in the sweet green pasture, feeding. Then quoth the little reader, Fair, I've changed my mind, for I don't dare to stay there in the witch's tower. I'll be the dame who found a flower of gold and rubies in the tail, and sold it for a fairy veil, which made her look so sweet and true, that she was dearly loved. Then you, sheep, ba, turn the juicy morsel over. Who would be a lad or lass, if he could his summer pass, as the sheep amongst the clover? Grasshoppers on daisies teeter, dewdrops clovers sweet and sweeter. Who can care for stupid tales? Fairy horns and airy veils. Fairy princess, fairy prince? Yet we must not blame them, since turn the juicy morsel over, they cannot be sheep in clover. The Ballad of the Blacksmith's Sons. I. See ling clang. Whoa, my bonny grey. See. Mare. Whoa. Cling clang. My bay. But the black and the sorrel must stay unshod, while my 2 fair sons are away. 2. While the blacksmith spake, his fair sons came, and stood in the smithy door. Now where have ye been, my 2 fair sons? For your father has missed ye sore? 3. Then pleasantly spake the younger son, with the eyes of dreamy blue. O father, we've been in a land as bright as the glint o' the morning dew. 4. Then his brother twinkled his gay black eyes, and he spake up merry and bold. Hey, father, we've been in the fairy land, where the horses are shod wi' gold. Thee. And what did ye there in fairyland? O my 2 fair sons, I pray? We shod for them, father, their fairy steeds, all in a month and a day. 6. And father, we shod them wi' virgin gold. Each nail had a diamond head. All the steeds were as white as the clear moon light, and in fields o' lilies they fed. And what was the sum o' the fairy hire? O my 2 fair sons, I pray? A seed of a wonderful fairy flower they gave to us each for pay. 8. And what will ye do wi' the seeds, fair sons? We will sow I the light, green spring, and maybe a golden rose will toss, or a silver lily will swing. 9. Now, cling, clang, whoa, my bonny grey mare. Whoa, cling, clang, my bay. On the sorrel and black, now my sons are back, can be shod. Cling, clang, today. X. O. The smith's sons planted the fairy seeds, when the light, green spring came round, through the sunlit hours, twixt the April showers, in the best of the garden ground. 11. Then the white rains wove with the long light beams, till a stalk like a slim green flame pierced the garden mold, a leaf unrolled, and another beside it came. 12. Then the brothers tended their fairy plants, till they shot up brave and tall, and the leaves grew thick. Now soon shall we pick a rose like a golden ball. 13. Or else we shall see a lily, maybe, with a bell o' bright silver cast. They thought, and they cried with joy, and when the blossom bud shaped at last. 14. Now, heyday! Shouted the elder son, and he danced in the garden walk. A hat I will buy as a steeple high, and the neighbors will stare and talk. 15. Heyday! I will buy me a brave gold chain, and a waistcoat o' satin fine, a ruff o' lace, and a pony and chaise, and a bottle o' red old wine. 16. But his brother looked up in the blue spring sky, and his yellow curls shone in the sun. Oh joy! If I hold but my fairy gold, my father's toil is done. 17. He shall hammer no more with his tired old hands, he shall shoe not the bay nor the grey, but shall live as he please and sit at his ease, a resting the livelong day. 18. Alas, and alas, when it came to pass that the bud to a flower was grown, it was pallid and green, no blossom so mean in the countryside was known. 19. Then angrily hurried the elder son, and hustled his up by the root, and it gave out a sound, as it left the ground, like the shriek of a fairy flute. XX. But he flung it over the garden wall, and he cried, with a scowling brow, No waistcoat fine, and no bottle o' wine, I have labored for naught, I trow. 21. Now, cling clang, woe my bonny grey mare! Cling clang, woe my bay! But the sorrel and white must wait tonight, for one sun sulks all day. 22. But the blue-eyed son till the summer was done cared well for his fairy flower. He weeded and watered, and killed the grub, would its delicate leaves devour. 23. Then forth to his garden he went one day, and the fairy plant was dead. The leaves were black in the white frost light, and the stalk was a shriveled shred. 24. Now never a rose like a golden ball, nor a silver lily shall blow, but never I'll mind, for I'm sure to find more gold if I work, I know. 25. Then he tenderly pulled up the fairy plant, and lo, in the frosty mold, like a star from the skies to his dazzled eyes, was blazing a bulb of gold. 26. Now, cling clang, woe my bonny grey mare! Or gallop or trot, as ye may, this happy old smith will shoe ye no more, for he sits at his ease all day. A valentine for baby. The rose is red, the violet's blue. Pinks are pretty, and so are you. He rose is red, my rosy dear. But that you as yet hardly know, since you have only been with us for of the times when roses blow. The violet's blue, my blue-eyed love. Yet that, perhaps, you hardly knew, since you have only 4 times passed the violets in their hoods of blue. The pinks are pretty, baby queen, and so are you, but that also, from being here so short a time, perhaps you've hardly learned to know the fairy flag, a sky folklore story, beyond the purple gloom of moors, beyond the blueness of the sea, beyond the range of chalk-white cliffs. The sun was setting peacefully. The fairy, on a grassy knoll, sat dreaming, singing to the cows, knee-deep in clumps of plumy ferns, knee-deep in rustling grasses' browse. The chieftain slays his foeman's clan. The lady broiders in the hall. I sit here singing to the cows, and am the gayest one of all. Now of the clumps of spicy fern, now of the juicy grasses taste. The fairy wore a grass-green gown, with golden girdle at her waist, her winsome little face upturned, her soft gold hair all round her streamed, her small pink cheeks like roses burned, her wild blue eyes like jewels beamed. She struck a little harp o' pearl. As to the browsing kind she sung, all lightly o'er the fairy bridge. Beyond, a bonny laddie sprung. He had Prince Charlie's yellow locks, his gay blue eyes and lovesome way. Son of the great MacLeod was he. The castle just beyond him lay. The fairy lilted loud and sweet. The laddie turned him round to see. She lifted up her little face, and sweet, and sweet, and sweet smiled she. The laddie through the heather ran, his tartan blowing out behind. The little fairy, gowned in green, why little harp o' pearl, to find. And since you are a mortal bairn, and yet have shunned me not, she said, a fairy gift I'll give to thee. Tomorrow, when the west is red, and since you have a bonny face, I'll give to thee a fairy kiss, to take the bitter from thy woe, and add a sweetness to thy bliss. She kissed the laddie's blushing cheek, and all the air grew sweet around, as if a million flowers bloomed out, and then she vanished from the ground. The western sky all roses was, and round the MacLeod's maidens' feet foam wreaths to wreaths of roses turned. The fairy lilted loud and sweet. The laddie o'er the fairy bridge came running lightly to her side. And have you brought the fairy gift you promised me last night? He cried. The flag was green as springtide's sword. What time the sun upon it lies, and shot with threads of glittering gold, and filled with spots of gold like eyes. She put it in the laddie's hand. Once waved, 'twill bring thee thy desire, and twice and thrice, but not again. Then cast it, worthless, in the fire. A shadow o'er her gown o' green, a shadow o'er her winsome face, a shadow o'er her golden hair, came softly creeping on apace. The fairy through the shadow shone, and struck her little harp o' pearl, then vanished in the shadow's heart. Why golden and why rosy swirl? The laddie held the fairy flag, alone in twilight grey and cold, and stood and looked, his wondering eyes all filled with dancing motes of gold. The laddie's yellow beard had grown. He'd wedded with a lady fair, and he had got a little son, with his same bonny yellow hair, and alway had the fairy's kiss she gave to him so long ago, added a sweetness to his bliss, and ta'en the bitter from his woe. But never yet the fairy flag had waved upon the castle wall, for with his stalwart arm and sword, his troubles he had breasted all. Oh, where's my little laddie gone? The lady left her broidery frame, through every castle window peered, with tearful eyes, the gentle dame. Then MacLeod called his followers out, and loud the castle trumpets blew. Oh, MacLeod's air is straight owa, and on the heather falls the dew, and on the heather falls the dew. Shadows are floating o'er the sea. Oh, where's my little laddie gone? I pray ye bring him back to me. They searched along the chalk-white cliffs, upon the dizzy hanging paths. They sought him on their breezy tops, along the strips of grassy straths. They called MacLeod, adown the hill. They called MacLeod, adown the vale. They hailed the shepherd with his flock, the maiden with her milking pail. They searched Dunvegan Castle through, each dungeon in the thick stone wall. They peered within, but only found the prison foeman, grim and tall. His mother looked out o'er the sea, to where the MacLeod's maidens stand, to see, above the foam wreaths rise, his yellow head and waving hand. The laddie came not, when the moon, with all the stars sailed out in sight, and MacLeod's tables, tops of snow, were cloth of silver in her light. Bring out the fairy flag! I'll wave it from the topmost tower! There'll come no direr need than this, for MacLeod's race has lost its flower. MacLeod then waved the fairy flag. It looked a net of golden wire, its streaks of gold and spots of gold, all linked and curled like tongues of fire. There came a twang o' pearly harp, there came a lilting loud and sweet, and softly o'er the fairy bridge, there came the dance o''s slender feet. There danced along the fairy bridge, a spot I the golden light apace. The laddie at the castle gate stood lifting up his bonny face. Oh, I ha wandered by the burn, And I ha' wandered by the glen. A little Letty all in green, he said, has led me home again. MacLeod close furled the fairy flag. Ye've served me once in blessed stead, but sorely I'll be pressed again, ere I will wave ye twice, he said. All day the chief had held the field, nor quailed until the sun sank low. His followers, bleeding, round him lay, and he was hemmed in by the foe. "Oh, life is sweet!" exclaimed MacLeod. "I love my bairn and lady dear. I'll wave again the fairy flag. But will it bring me succor here?" MacLeod waved high the fairy flag. H's foemen reeled back at the sight, for in their cruel eyes there danced great spots and bars of golden light. There came a twang o' pearly harp, there came a lilting loud and sweet, and MacLeod's foemen turned and fled. The hills all rang with flying feet. MacLeod furled close the fairy flag. "Ye've served me twice in blessed stead, but I shall in the churchyard lie, ere I will wave ye thrice," he said. "For if I thrice should wave the flag, and thrice should get my heart's desire, next day might come a sorer need, when it were ashes in the fire." MacLeod kept well his word. He fought for life on many a bloody plain. He tossed in peril on the sea, nor waved the fairy flag again. The hand that waved the fairy flag, the lips the fairy kissed, are still. MacLeod low in the churchyard lies, and deaf to lilting sweet and shrill. But still his kin in misty sky, the fairy flag in keeping hold, and sometime from the castle wall may flash its spots and bars of gold. But dire indeed shall be the need, and every other hope be slain, before a MacLeod of the Isle shall wave the fairy flag again. The spoiled darling! Oh, the ruffles there were on that little, oh, dress, Fanny! Her mamma does dress her so sweetly, you know. And the prettiest sash of pale rose-colored satin, tied at her waist in a butterfly bow, and her soft, flossy hair, almost a rose-yellow, like the roses we had in our garden last year, cut short round the fairest blue-veined little forehead. Oh, if Miss Marian wasn't a dear! Just perfect she was, the mite of a darling, from her flower of a head to her pink slipper toes. You will laugh, but she seemed as I looked at her, Fanny, a little girl copied right after a rose. Well, you know how it is, they have petted the darling, her papa and mamma, her uncles and aunts, till, saving the moon, which they can't get, for princes, there isn't a thing but she has if she wants. So, last night at the Christmas tree, Fanny, it was so funny I laugh at it now. There was Miss Marian sweeter than honey, all in her ruffles and butterfly bow. She had presents, I thought, enough for a dozen, but she seemed heavy-hearted in spite of it all. Her sweet little mouth was all of a quiver, and there was a teardrop just ready to fall. The aunts and the cousins all round her came crowding. "And what is the matter, my darling, my dear?" She didn't look sulky, but grieved, and I saw it roll down her pink cheek, that trembling tear. And she lisped out so honest, Mamie and Bessie and the rest have pleasants, and 'twas my Christmas tree. And when I came in, I thought that the pews and the whole of them on it, of tours were for me. I scarcely could blame her, she didn't seem angry, but grieved to the heart, the queer little mite. And 'twasn't her fault, she'd been fed so much honey. All the sweet in the world she took as her right. The brownie's Christmas. Tee-hee brownie who lives in the forest. Oh, the Christmas bells they ring, has done for the farmer's children full many a kindly thing. When their cows were lost in the gloaming, he has driven them safely home. He has led their bees to the flowers, to fill up their golden comb. At her spinning the little sister had napped till the setting sun. She awoke, and the kindly brownie had gotten it neatly done. Oh, the Christmas bells they are ringing. The mother she was away, and the brownie played with the baby, and tended it all the day. The brownie who lives in the tourist. Oh, the Christmas bells they ring, has done for the farmer's children full many a kindly thing. 'Tis true that they never spied him, though their eyes were so sharp and bright. But there were the tasks all nicely done, and never a soul in sight. But the poor little friendly brownie, his life was a weary thing, for he never had been in Holy Church, and heard the children sing, and he never had had a Christmas, nor bent in prayer his knee. He had lived for 1,000 years, and all weary worn was he. Or that was the story the children had heard at their mother's side, and together they talked it over. One merry Christmas tide, the pitiful little sister, with her braids of polygold, and the little elder brother, and the darling 5-year-old, all stood in the western window. 'Twas toward the close of day, and they talked about the brownie, while resting from their play. The brownie, he has no Christmas, the dear little sister said, shaking sadly as she spoke her glossy yellow head. The brownie, he has no Christmas, while so many gifts had we. Last night they fairly bent to the floor, the boughs of the Christmas tree. Then the little elder brother, he spake up in his turn. His sweet blue eyes were beaming, and his cheeks began to burn. Let us make up for the brownie a Christmas bundle now, to leave in the forest pathway, where the great oak branches bow. We'll mark it for the brownie, and a Merry Christmas Day, and he will be sure to find it, for he must go home that way. Then the tender little sister, with her braids of polygold, and the little elder brother, and the darling 5-year-old, made up a Christmas bundle, all tied with ribbons gay, and marked it, for the brownie, with a Merry Christmas Day. And then in the winter twilight, with shouts of loving glee, they hied to the wood, and left their gift under the great oak tree, while the farmer's fair little children slept sweet that Christmas night. 2 wanderers through the forest came in the clear moonlight, and neither of them was the brownie, but sorry were both as he, and their hearts, with every footstep, were aching heavily. A slender man with an organ, strapped on by a leathern band, and a little girl with a tambourine, holding close to his hand. And the little girl with the tambourine, her gown was thin and old, and she toiled through the great white forest, shining with the cold. And what is there here to do? She said. I'm froze by the light o' the moon. Shall we play to these sad old forest trees some merry and jigging tune? And father, you know it is Christmas time, and had we stayed at the town, and I gone to one o' the Christmas trees, a gift might have fallen down. You cannot certainly know it would not. I'd ha' gone right under the tree. Are you sure that never one Christmas is meant for you and me? These dry, dead leaves, he answered her, which the forest casteth down, are more than you'd get from a Christmas tree in the merry and thoughtless town. Though tonight be the Christ's own birth, day night, and all the world has grace, there is not a home in all the world which has for us a place. Slow plodding adown the forest path. Now what is this? He said. Then he lifted the children's bundle, and for the brownie, read. The tears came into his weary eyes. Now if this be done, said he, somewhere in the world perhaps there is a place for you and me. Then the bundle he opened softly. This is children's tender thought, their own little Christmas presents they have to the brownie brought. If there lives such tender pity toward a thing so dim and low, there must be kindness left on earth, of which I did not know. Oh, children, there's never a brownie, that sorry, uncanny thing, but nearest and next are the homeless, when the Christmas joy bells ring. Loud laughed the little daughter, as she gathered the toys in her gown. "Oh, father, this oak is my Christmas tree, and my present has fallen down." Then away they went through the forest, the wanderers hand in hand. And the snow, they were both so merry, it glinted like golden sand. Down the forest the elder brother, in the morning clear and cold, came leading the little sister, and the darling 5-year-old. "Oh," he cries, "he's taken the bundle!" As carefully round he peers. "And the brownie has gotten a Christmas, after 1,000 years!" The Christmas ball. Tee-hee fiddlers were scraping so cheerily, oh, tee, with a 1, 2, 3 and a 1, 2, 3. And the children were dancing so merrily, oh, all under the shade of the Christmas tree. Oh, bonny the fruit on its branches which grows, and the mistletoe bough from the ceiling hung. The fiddlers they rosined their squeaking bows, and the brave little lads their partners swung. Oh, the fiddlers they played such a merry tune, with a 1, 2, 3 and a 1, 2, 3. And the children they blossomed like roses in June, all under the boughs of the Christmas tree. And the fiddlers were scrap ing so merrily, oh, with a 1, 2, 3 and a 1, 2, 3. And the children were sing so cheerily, oh, all under the shade of the Christmas tree. The girl fairy in cobweb frock, when, all of a sudden, a fairy land crew came whirling airily into the room. As light as the fluffy balls they flew, which fly from the purple thistle bloom. There were little girl fairies in cobweb frocks, all spun by spiders from golden threads, with butterfly wings and glistening locks, and wreaths of dewdrops around their heads. There were little boy fairies in jeweled coats of pansy velvet of cost untold, with chains of daisies around their throats, and their heads all powdered with lily gold. The boy fairy in jeweled coat. The fiddlers they laughed till they scarce could see, and then they fiddled so cheerily, oh, and the fairies and children around the tree, they all went tripping so merrily, oh. The fiddlers they boxed up their fiddles all, the fairies they silently flew away. But every child at the Christmas ball had danced with a fairy first, they say. So they told their mothers, and did not you ever have such a lovely time at your play, my boy and my girl, that it seemed quite true that you'd played with a fairy all the day? The Puritan doll. Oh, you are Puritan fathers, stern and good. Oh, had never a holiday. Sober and earnest seemed life to them. They only stopped working to pray. And the little Puritan maidens learned their catechisms through, and spun their stents, and wove, themselves, their garments of homely blue. And they never made merry on Christmas Day, that savored of Pope and Rome. And there was never a Christmas tree in any Puritan home. There never was woven a Christmas wreath. Carols the children never sung. And Christmas Eve, in the chimney place, there was never a stocking hung. Sweet little Ruth, with her flaxen hair, all neatly braided and tied, was sitting one old December day at her pretty mother's side. She listened, speaking never a word, with her serious, thoughtful look, to the Christmas story her mother read out of the good old book. "I'll tell thee, Ruth!" her mother cried, herself scarce more than a girl, as she smoothed her little daughter's hair, lest it straggle out into a curl. "If thy stent be spun each day this week, and thou toil like the busy bee, a Christmas present on Christmas Day I promise to give to thee." And then she talked of those merry times she never could quite forget, the Christmas cheer, the holly and Yule. She was hardly a Puritan yet. She talked of those dear old English days, with tears in her loving eyes. And little Ruth heard like a Puritan child, with a quiet though glad surprise. But nevertheless she thought of her gift as much as would any owe to you. And busily round, each day of the week, her little spinning wheel flew. Tired little Ruth! But oh, she thought, she was paid for it after all. when her mother gave her on Christmas Day a little Puritan doll. 'Twas made of a piece of a homespun sheet, dressed in a homespun gown, cut just like Ruth's, and a little cap, with a stiff white muslin crown, a primly folded muslin cape. I don't think one of you all would have been so bold as to dare to play with that dignified Puritan doll. Dear little Ruth showed her delight in her pretty, quiet way. She sat on her stool in the great fireplace and held her doll all day. And then she always said, "Good night," when the shadows began to fall. She was so happy she went to sleep, still holding her Puritan doll, the gift that none could see. Here are silver pines on the whin. Dow pane. A forest of them, said he. And a huntsman is there with a silver horn, which he bloweth right merrily. And there are a flock of silver ducks, flying over his head. And a silver sea and a silver hill, in the distance away, he said. And all this is on the window pane. My pretty mamma, true as true. She lovingly smiled, but she looked not up. And faster her needle flew. A dear little fellow the speaker was. Silver and jewels and gold, lilies and roses and honey flowers, in a sweet little bundle rolled. He stood by the frosty window pane, till he tired of the silver trees, the huntsman blowing his silver horn, the hills and the silver seas, and he breathed on the flock of silver ducks, till he melted them quite away. And he saw the street, and the people pass, and the morrow was Christmas Day. The children are out, and they laugh and shout. I know what it's for, said he. And they're dragging along, my pretty mamma, a fir for a Christmas tree. He came and stood by his mother's side. Tonight it is Christmas Eve. And is there a gift somewhere for me? Gold, mamma, do you believe? Still the needle sped in her slender hands. My little sweetheart, said she, the Christ child has planned this Christ Mass for you, his gift that you cannot see. The boy looked up with a sweet, wise look on his beautiful baby face. Then my stocking I'll hang for the Christ child's gift. Tonight, in the chimney place. On Christmas morning the city through, the children were queens and kings, with their royal treasuries bursting o'er with wonderful, lovely things. But the merriest child in the city full, and the fullest of all with glee, was the one whom the dear Christ child had brought, the gift that he could not see. Quite empty it looks, oh my gold mamma. The stocking I hung last night, so then it is full of the Christ child's gift. And she smiled till his face grew bright. Now, sweetheart, she said with a patient look on her delicate, weary face, I must go and carry my sewing home, and leave thee a little space. Now stay with thy sweet thoughts, heart's delight, and I soon will be back to thee. I'll play, while you're gone, my pretty mamma, with my gift that I cannot see. He watched his mother pass down the street. Then he looked at the window pane, where a garden of new frost flowers had bloomed, while he on his bed had lain. Then he tenderly took up his empty sock, and quietly sat a while, holding it fast and eyeing it with his innocent, trusting smile. I am tired of waiting, he said at last. I think I will go and meet my pretty mamma, and come with her a little way down the street, and I'll carry with me, to keep it safe, my gift that I cannot see. And down the street mid the chattering crowd he trotted right merrily. And where are you going, you dear little man? They called to him as he passed. That empty stocking why do you hold in your little hand so fast? Then he looked at them with his honest eyes, and answered sturdily, my stocking is full to the top, kind sirs, of the gift that I cannot see. They would stare and laugh, but he trudged with his stocking fast in his hand. And I wonder why 'tis that the people all seem not to understand. Oh, my heart's little flower, she cried to him, hurrying down the street. And why are you out on the street alone? And where are you going, my sweet? I was coming to meet you, my pretty mamma, with my gift that I cannot see. But tell me, why do the people laugh and stare at my gift and me? Like the maid at her son in the altar piece. So loving she looked and mild. Because, dear heart, of all that you met, not one was a little child. O thou who art grieving at Christmas tide, the lesson is meant for thee, that thou mayst get Christ's loveliest gifts, in ways thou canst not see. And how, although no earthly good seems into thy lot to fall, hast thou a trusting childlike heart, thou hast the best of all, a little caller. Long, long ago, she ambled to town, her flaxen curls bobbed up and down, her best blue ribbons fluttered gay, and she had some calling cards of her own. Long, long ago, the people cried, there rides the sweet little Arabella. She goes for to make a wedding call today on the Prince and Cinderella. Katy did, Katy didn't. Who was Katy? Who was she? W. That you prayed of her so long? Was she just a little lassie, full of smiles and wiles and song? Did she spill the cups eau dew, filled for helpless, thirsty posies? Did she tie a butterfly just beyond the reach o' roses? Slandered she some sweet dumb thing? Called a tulip dull and plain? Said the clover had no fragrance, and the lily had a stain? Did she mock the pansies' faces, or a grandpa longlegs flout? Did she chase the frightened fireflies till their pretty lamps went out? Well, whatever 'twas, O Katy, we believe no harm of you, and we'll join your stanch defenders, singing, Katy didn't. 2. Sliding downhill. Here is ice on the hill, hurrah, hurrah! We can slide quite down to the Turbar, where the cows at night, in the summer weather, would stand waiting and lowing together. Tie your tippet closer, John. That was what their mother said. All of you put mittens on. The broom will answer for a sled. They had never a sled, but dragged in its room, just as gaily, behind them, the worn kitchen broom. John, Sammy, and Tom, and their sweet little sister, with her cheeks cherry red, where the wind had kissed her. You can watch, sis, that's enough. That was what her brothers said. Keep your hands warm in your muff. Girls can't slide without a sled. Oh, where in the world is there aught so nice as to slide down the pasture hill on the ice? Quite down to the bar, sis, see, we are going where the cows each night in summer stood lowing. If I were a boy like you, this was what their sister said, watching as they downward flew, I would make a girl a sled. Little Peachling. A Japanese folklore story. At the foot of the Golden Dragon Hill. Ages ago, in a snug little house, with a roof of dark brown, velvety thatch, there lived an old woodman and his spouse. One morning his billhook the old man took to the mountain to cut me a faggot. I'll hi, while you, O coil, the linen can wash in the river which rushes and gurgles by. Oh, the merry old man to the mountain hied, past young rice fields in the morning sun, toward the dark fir trees on the mountain side, standing forth in its silence, every one, from wild camellias and white plum trees. In his twinkling old eyes the spider webs swung, and he merrily brushed by the green bamboos, with his billhook over his shoulder hung, and a geese sang in a tall cherry tree, as the smiling old wife to the riverside went. Oh, red is the sun, she cheerily sang, as she patiently over her washing bent. Oh, red is the sun, and the rice fields green. Now what is that in the river I see? It's the rosiest peach in the whole of Japan. And it's coming floating to me. Now here's a feast for my darling old man. Oh, the great shogun not a finer can get. Some stewed lily bulbs, and this beautiful peach. When he comes home from work, before him I'll set. Soon down from the mountain the old man came, and fast on his back his faggot was bound. Oh, hasten you, husband, his loving wife cried, and taste this beautiful peach that I found. But just as he took it, the peach split in twain, and a fat little baby with raven black hair was cradled right in the heart of the peach, and lay twinkling and blinking there. Oh, you brave little boy, you shall be our own son, and Mama Taro shall have for a name, or little peachling, since out of a peach, you dear little fellow, this morning you came. Oh, the rice fields blossomed for 20 years, while the gurgling old river amongst them ran. Oh, for 20 years grew the slim bamboo, and little peachling was grown to a man. Some millet dumplings pray make for me, to his good foster mother he said one day, and off to the ogre's castle I'll go, and the whole of their treasure will bring away, as thick in the ogre's treasure vaults the jewels are lying as seashore sands, with blue snow gates on the mountain top. The ogre's castle all proudly stands, with blue snow gates that are stronger than steel. But I will enter and bring to you the wealth from the ogre's treasure vaults, hung over with pearls, like flowers with dew. I have made you the dumplings, his good mother said, but I fear lest the ogre should do you a harm. But the little peachling danced gaily away, with the millet dumplings under his arm. A dog leapt out of a cluster of pines. And what have you there, little peachling? Pray? The best millet dumplings in all Japan. And I'm to the ogre's castle away. For one of your dumplings with you I'll go, and the ogre's castle will help subdue. Well, you can bark at the castle gate. So here is a dumpling, friend dog, for you. An ape swung down from a roadside tree. Kia kia, what have you, I say? The best millet dumplings in all Japan. And I'm to the ogre's castle away. What of your dumplings pray give to me, and the ogre's castle I'll help subdue. Well, you can climb over the castle gate. So here is a dumpling, friend ape, for you. Ken equals, cried a pheasant. And what have you there, little peachling, tucked in your girdle, I pray? The best millet dumplings in all Japan. And I'm to the ogre's castle away. For one of your dumplings with you I'll go, and the ogre's castle will help subdue. Well, you can fly o'er the castle gate. So here is a dumpling, friend pheasant, for you. Oh, the castle stood high on the mountain top, and over its turrets a hurricane blew. But up to its terrible blue snow gates little peachling marched with his retinue. Then the ogres swarmed out on the castle towers. The drums beat loud, and the trumpets brayed, and magical arrows came rustling around. But our brave little Ronin was not afraid, for his pheasant flew over the castle wall, and his ape undid the castle gate, and brave little peachling, his dog at heel, into the castle then marched in state. His little dog snapped at the ogre's heels, his pheasant picked at their round green eyes, and his ape tweaked away at the ogre's locks, as only an ape can do when he tries. And the little Ronin, around him he laid, with his muramesa so thick and fast, that the king of the ogres was prisoner made, and the ogre's castle was taken at last. Oh, measures of pearls and wedges of gold! Oh, the jars of musk and the coral bars, amber and emeralds, tortoise shells, and diamonds shining like strings of stars, gold brocade coats, and wonderful gems that regulated the green sea tide. It's always the loveliest things in the world, which the treasure castles of ogres hide. With the treasures, the dog, the pheasant, and ape, little peachling home to his parents ran. And the old woodman and his loving wife were the happiest couple in all Japan. A swing! Oh, they made her a swing on a gossamer. Oh, tree, on the lowest bough of a gossamer tree. And she swung so far, I have heard, she could see the next year's rose and honeybee, and the gifts on the next year's Christmas tree. But I fear 'tis a story, oh dear me! The youngest tells her story. Why, oh, you think that I can't tell a story? Why? Just wait. No, 'tisn't 'bout Jack. Maury. This morning, it was early quite. I saw a little fairy knight, with silver boots and silver shield, tramping through the clover field. He held a spear that looked like grass, but 'twas a truly spear of glass. A silver bugle at his lips, he played with tiny fingertips. He held a flag o' grass green silk, a branch of lilies white as milk. He held. How many hands had he? You're cruel to make fun of me. No, I won't tell another bit. You've lost the sweetest part of it. A song. S-I-N-G, a song of a little lass, red blow the S. Roses, oh, about a lovely little lass, who was so like a rose, you know. Red blow the roses, oh, so very like when placed together. They only told her from a rose because she bloomed in winter weather. Her proof. As he lifted her finger with gesture slow. 'Tis true for certain and sure, I know. And I think when I say so you ought to be. Leave. They kneel in their stalls on Christmas Eve. The red one, the white one, the speckled and brown. When the clock strikes 12, we'll all kneel down. And it happens so every Christmas Eve. Well, I'll tell you this if you won't believe. Once, ages and ages ago it was, I thought I would see for myself, because I doubted a little, just like you, whether or no the story was true. And so one Christmas Eve I stayed awake till 12. Oh, I was afraid. The wind was blowing, and no moon shone. But I went to the stable myself, alone. And when I had slid the big doors back, I couldn't go in, it was so black. But solemn and true, I do declare, I heard the cows when they knelt down. There! Rosalinda's lamb. Tee-hee, Princess Rosalinda's lamb. Tea. Silken is his fleece, they say, and he feeds on pinks alway. Round his neck's a golden band, Rosalinda on it writ, and a padlock fastens it. Oh, of pinks he is so sweet, and he has such dainty feet. The Princess Rosalinda's lamb. If you find him, you who read, and him to his mistress lead, rich reward she offers you. Lovely china mug of blue, coral beads, a turquoise ring, silver bangles, anything that you choose to have in mind. Ah, you're lucky if you find Princess Rosalinda's lamb, the baby's reverie. An exquisite little maiden. With a head like a golden flower. She soberly stood at the window, in the still, white twilight hour. Of what are you thinking, sweetheart? She was such a little child. She could not answer the question. She only dimpled and smiled. But I wondered as she frolicked, her mystic reverie o'er, was she a rose shade less a child than she had been before? Was she pausing, as a rosebud seems pausing while it grows? Had I caught the blooming minute of a little human rose? A silly boy. Oh, a little boy sailed in a sugar bowl. Oh, with silver spoons for oars. And his hold was full of sugar, the French man's tea to sweeten. But when he safely moored his craft beside those foreign shores, alas, that silly little boy, his cargo he had eaten. A pretty ambition. Tee-hee, mackerel man drives down the street. With mackerel to sell. Calling out with lusty shout, Hi-el, mackerel! When I'm a man I mean to drive a wagon full of posies, and sing so sweet to all I meet. Hail, hyacinths and roses! The snowflake tree. Tee-hee, hawthorn is dead, the rose leaves have fled on the north wind over the sea. Now the petals will fall that are rarest of all, sweetheart, from the snowflake tree. The tree, it doth stand in that marvelous land, whose shore like a sapphire gleams, where a crown hangs high in the northern sky. Forth rang its golden beams. It tosses its boughs with their crystalline blows. They crackle and tinkle for glee, when the north wind shrieks round the awful peaks, on the shores of the polar sea. And never a bird its blossoms has stirred, or built on its branches a nest, for the perfume which floats from the blossom's throats would freeze the song in its breast. And my own little bird, were her Goldilocks stirred by the wind through its branches which blows, with her song silenced all, forever would fall asleep on the silver snows. But our hearth burns bright, little sweetheart, tonight, and we're far from the snowflake tree. Thou canst nestle in bed thy little gold head, and thy songs shall awaken with thee Dorothy's dream, as he sat on her little wooden stool. With a wistful, thoughtful face, her blue eyes staring straight ahead, into the chimney place, where the oaken logs that winter night sent up a merry blaze. Now, what is the thought, Maid Dorothy? You think so long, I pray? Oh, Mother! Last night I dreamed a dream about that Christmas day, which they have in the green old England. Over the sea, you say. And I thought I had hung up a stocking right over the chimney there. And it was not one of the coarse blue socks I knit myself to wear, but fine and soft, and on the sides some silk and broidery fair. And out of the stocking I pulled a book, and it was a sin, you'll say, but my old New England primer I thought I would throw away, for it was not a book like this one, but had covers and pictures gay. And I pulled out a doll with real brown hair, in satins and laces drayest. Oh! She truly cried, and she closed her eyes when I laid her down to rest. But I made up my mind I would always love my old poppet the best. Oh! I'm sure that the governor's lady has never one ribbon so fine as some in that stocking, of blue and gold, and crimson like elder wine. I could have tied up my hair with them if they had been really mine. But soberly said Maid Dorothy, 100 years ago, it was a dream, and dreams, of course, by opposites always go. And such fine things will never be in this vain world, I know. Tiger lilies. How keepeth my lady the weeds from her posies, all in the gay summer-time. Why is it the rose chafer eats not her roses, from the song of the lark till the 4 o'clock closes? 5 fierce lily tigers and spotted cuirasses she posteth at each of her green garden passes, and they frighten away the chafers and grasses, all in the gay summer-time. The enlightenment of Mamma. Oh, Mamma dear, just listen. Oh, I ran away, you know. I saw the grasses glisten, bowing to me so. The clovers shook their pink heads too. You wouldn't care I ran away, if how they did you only knew. And I was dressed as much as they didn't mind a bit, and oh, I saw there, fastened to the grass, with little shiny ropes of glass, a spider's web. Mamma, you know, you've always said that spiders ate for breakfast little frightened flies, for which they long had laid in wait, watching with their cruel eyes. Well, Mamma, in that spider's web, somebody told it wrong to you. There wasn't any fly at all. Mamma, you will believe it's true. Everything for breakfast there was clover tops and drops of dew. Butterflies. We, my dearie, were butterflies with pearly winglets and golden eyes. We would not adore the roses alway, and no body else on a sunny day, if we, my baby, were butterflies with purple winglets and golden eyes. Far away, over land or sea, we would come to the honey we love in thee, an old maxim, Siom, silver tongue, and hear the tale, of that little girl of yore, who sat up in a straight back chair, with her tiptoes on the floor, and listened to her eld airs, like a little voiceless bird, dear little model loss. Si. Who was seen but never heard. Nanny's search. Oh, Nanny, my dear little Nanny! And, oh, where have you been today? Why are little coats old, and the wind blows cold? And where have you been, I pray? Dear Granny, I've been to the forest to look for a Christmas tree. Santa Claus is so kind, I thought I would find one growing there wild, maybe, full of cakes, with a doll, and candy and all, for a wee little body like me. Grandmother's story. And now hang up your sunbonnet, Marthy, and get out your patchwork square, and sit down here and sew for a while, in your little rocking chair, and hear me tell you a story of a little girl I knew, who made a whole quilt of patchwork, when she wasn't as big as you. Dolly's fan. Ollie had a silken fan. Crimson with a feather border. And she, oh, so airily, used to sway it from and toward her. Dolly seated in her pew. Many wondering eyes were scanning, tilting up her dainty chin toward the parson, softly fanning every little girl in church. Pity 'tis to tell such folly, while the parson preached and prayed, tried to fan herself like Dolly. A portrait. Ho is that young and gentle dame who stands in yonder gilded frame, clad in a simple muslin gown whose deared frills hang limply down, blue ribbons in her yellow curls, around her neck a string of pearls. Her eyes, blue stars in ancient gloom, seeking you all o'er the room, as if to call sweet memories to her? My grandmother before I knew her. Caraway. Past the lavender bed and the parsley. Close to the wall where the sweet briar blows, green grows the caraway grandma planted, though scarce one lover today it knows. When dear old grandma her meat and bun knit had carefully tied on the Sabbath day, she always put in her best gown pocket a generous handful of caraway, for the dear old soul would grow weary to sit so long in the cushionless pew, and oft the parson's doctrinal sermon would trouble her tender feelings too. And when she had heard so much election that her heart for the others began to bleed, she sensed the better God's love behind it, by eating a bit of her meat and seed. Solemn and mild a praise to the parson was her dear old face on the Sabbath day. She drank the sweet there was in the sermon, the bitter she flavored with caraway. Though caraway is not fair to look at, though you may not fancy its taste indeed, yet still it shall grow there down in the garden, because it was grandma's meat and seed. Two little birds in blue. Were little birdies all in blue. Airily flitted the garden through. Pink blows the briar in summer weather, and they could whistle a rondel true, which all of the neighbors loved and knew. Pink blows the briar in summer weather. Now through the garden the north wind goes, and the bush is bent to the ground with snows. Black turns the briar in winter weather. Where are the little blue birds? Who knows? And where, oh where, is the pink briar rose? Ah, hey, sweet things come and depart together. A castle in Spain. Draggled lilies were beaten down. As if by a prancing hoof. The roses swayed, and the warm rain came, like the patter of pearls on the roof. Up in the garret the darling sat, in her little gown of blue, with her lily cheeks and her rosebud lips, and dreamed as she loved to do. Bundles of herbs from the rafters hung. There was many a quaint old chest, a cradle of oak, and a spinning wheel. In the chimney a swallow's nest. The darling she sat in a straight-backed chair, with her face gainst the window pane, her little hands folded across her lap. And she builded her castle in Spain, and never a magic palace rose, in the days of the Moorish kings, as fair as the castle the darling built. From her sweet imaginings, rosy and green were the walls, like the heart of a murmuring ocean shell. There were jeweled spires, and a slender tower, with a swinging silver bell, and up to the gold-hasped door there ran, on a carven ivory stair, the darling herself in rosy silk, with pearls in her yellow hair. Then the beautiful doors swung open wide, and she entered a marble hall, where marble nymphs, with golden lamps, stood ranged against the wall. The darling danced like a puff down over the marble floor, and she gleefully sped from hall to hall, and opened each golden door. And chambers she found whose lofty walls, with jewels were all a-crust, with windows of pearl, and ivory floors, scattered over with diamond dust. And oft up a staircase rail she saw a flowering garland twist, with ruby lilies and roses of gold, and myrtle of amethyst. The south wind blew, on the garret roof, fell faster the summer rain winky face. A wonderful garden the darling found, around the castle in Spain, apple branches all white with flowers, a hive of stingless bees, robins with nests of woven gold, on the boughs of the cherry trees, lilies as tall as the darling's self, of silver and gold and blue, banks of primrose and mignonette, and violets wet with dew, poppies with bees asleep in their cups, tulips of purple and red, honeysuckles and hummingbirds, rose branches over her head, a velvet sward in an open space, a fountain of tinkling pearls, and the darling herself in a violet gown, with hyacinths in her curls, with her apron full of roses and pearls, singing a song so clear that the bees and the yellow butterflies came flying round to hear. Then the darling danced down a flowery path, still singing her song so sweet, with hawthorn branches on either hand, and crocuses under feet. And she found a beautiful blue-eyed prince, asleep in a thicket dim, caught in a bramble rose which grew by magic over him. Through the leaves and roses she scarce could see his head with its flaxen curls, his rosy cheeks, and his velvet coat, with its buttons of milky pearls. And the poor little prince, if he chanced to stir, as he dreamed in his magic sleep, was pierced by a thorn of the bramble rose, and the darling began to weep. Then a bright tear dropped on the bramble rose, and away from the prince it fell, and he woke from his sleep, and loud and sweet rang the chimes of the castle bell. The darling sat in her straight-backed chair, with her soft cheeks flushing red, and she sighed for the prince and the castle fair, and the roses and pearls had fled. She wistfully looked through the rain-splashed pane. "'Tis a sad and stormy day, and not so much as a rose have I brought from my castle in Spain away," she did not know as she sat and watched the darling, the pattering rain. On her soft little cheek she carried a rose from her castle in Spain, at the dreamland gate. Tee winds go down in peace, dear child. Tee. The birds are circling o'er the sea. The dreamland gate before thee swings, with murmur soft as drowsy bee. Now enter in, dear child, nor fear lest harm should come to thee. Beyond the gate I cannot go, but here I'll stand, nor stir away, while, with the dreamland children, thou shalt frolic till the break of day. Fear not to enter in, dear child, for close beside the gate I'll stay. And if in dreamland's lovely woods some harmless giant lay in wait, some straggler from thy fairy tales he'll take to flight disconsolate, just say, "Away!" or I will tell my mother, "At the dreamland gate!" A Christmas carol. Dear Nanny in her Christmas hood, with fluffy swan's down round the face, wearing her pretty Christmas gown, and little frill of dainty lace, came with her mother into church on Christmas Eve, with timid grace. Dear Nanny sat there in her pew. The Christmas greens with music stirred. The choir sang like a nest of larks, but never once she caught a word, for she was singing to herself, and hers was all the song she heard. "My muff, my hood! Dear Nanny sang. My coat, my dress, my golden ring, my waxen doll, my picture book, my stocking full of everything. So sang the sober little maid, so softly no one heard her sing. Oh, sweetly caroled forth the choir their Christmas songs, and never knew how, in her little simple tune, which after all was just as true, a sitting meekly down below dear little Nanny caroled too. Crow, warnings. And oh, it won't rain tomorrow. Well, what? And if the crows from that withered old cornfield fly, a cawing for rain, let them caw if they like. With all of that blue in the sky, caw away, you old birds, in your rusty black cloaks. I know that you're not speaking true. There are not enough clouds in the world, in a night, to cover up all of that blue. The Outdoors Girl. S.I.N.G. A song of a queer little girl who lived all alone in the green out of doors. She made her a necklace of cranberries and a gown of the red cornflowers. And she made her a beautiful oak leaf cap and a swing of a wild grapevine. And merrily all day she swung out a shade into gold sunshine. The Beggar King. Hark! 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 The dogs do bark. The beggars have come to town. Some in rags, and some in tags, and some in velvet gowns. Old nursery rhyme. How frantic, down the city streets. The barking dogs they tore. The dust it flew, and no man knew the like of it before. The St. Bernard's deep booming bass. The hound's sepulchral howl. The terrier whelp's staccato yelp. And the bulldog's massive growl. In chorus sounded through the town. The windows up they went. Through every space a gaping face inquiringly was bent. The burgher's daughter clean forgot her snood of silk and pearls, and, full of dread, popped out her head, with its tumbled yellow curls. A rosebud smote her on the lips. Down went the rattling blind. But still the maid, all curious, stayed, and slyly peeped behind. A handsome lord, with smiling lips, leaned from the opposite tower. Two withered hags, in dirt and rags, did from their garret glower. The tailor left his goose to see, and got his coat ablaze. Three peasant maids, with shining braids, looked on in wild amaze. The emperor's palace windows high, all open they were set. From the grey stone red jewels shone, all gold and violet. The ladies of the emperor's court leaned out with stately grace, and each began her peacock fan to wave before her face. Hark! 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 The dogs do bark! The emperor left his throne at the uproar, and on the floor he dropped his emerald crown. The dogs press round the city gates. The guards they wave them back, but all in vain, with might and main, dance round the yelping pack. Hark! 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 O'er growl and bark, there sounds a trumpet call. Now rat-tat-tat, pray, what is that? Outside the city wall? Airs from the Beggar's Opera, on broken fiddles played. On pans they drum and wildly strum, filched from a dairy maid, with tenor whine and basso groan. The chorus is complete, and far and wide there sounds beside the tramp of many feet. Hark! 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 The dogs do bark! Ah, what a horrid din! The beggars wait outside the gate, and clamor to get in. A herald to the emperor rode. Save! Save the emerald crown! For hark! 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 The dogs do bark! The beggars stormed the town. The emperor donned his clinking mail, called out his royal guard. The city gate, with furious rate, went galloping toward a captain with a flag of truce. Thus parleyed on the wall. Why do you wait outside the gate? And why so loudly call? He spoke, then eyed them with dismay. For o'er the valley spread the clamoring crowd, and stern and proud a king rode at their head. In motley ermine he was drayest, as sad a horse he rode, with jaunty air, quite debonair, as ever man bestrode. The beggars stumped and limped behind, with wails and whines and moans, some in rags and some in tags, and some in velvet gowns. A great court beauty's splendid dress was there, all soiled and frayed. The scarf, once bright, a belted knight wore at his accolade. A queen's silk hose, a bishop's robe, a monarch's funeral pall. The shoes, all mud, a prince o' the blood had danced in at a ball. The beggars stumped and limped along, aping their old-time grace. Upon the wind flew out behind ribbons of silk and lace. A wretched company it was, around the city gate, the sour and sad, the sick and bad, and all disconsolate. But in the wretched company there was one dainty thing, a maiden white as still moonlight, who rode beside the king. Her hands were full of apple flowers, plucked in the country lanes. Her little feet, like lilies sweet, o'erlaced with violet veins, hung down beneath her tattered dress. A bank of lilies showed her shoulders fair, her dusky hair down to her girdle flowed. Up spoke the haughty beggar king, I want no parleying word. Bid come to me, right speedily, the emperor, your lord. Wide open flew the city gate. Out rode the emperor bold. His war-horse pranced and lightly danced upon his hoofs of gold. What wouldest thou, O beggar king? What wouldest thou with me? For all the gold the town doth hold would not suffice for thee. Beholdest thou my daughter dear, O emperor, by my side? Though wild the rose, it sweetly grows, and she shall be thy bride. And thou shalt seat her on thy throne, when thou thy troth hast pledged. Her beauty grace with gems and lace, and robes with ermine edged. Or else, on thee, O emperor, like locusts will come down, and naught that's fair or rich or rare will leave within the town. The children all shall lack for food, and the lords and ladies pine. For we will eat your dainties sweet, and drink your red old wine. Now, what sayst thou, O emperor? Wed thou envy daughter dear? Tomorrow day, by dawning grey, thy borders shall be clear. The emperor looked upon the maid. She shyly dropped her head. Her apple flowers fell down in showers. Her soft white cheeks grew red. The emperor loved her at the sight. I take your terms, cried he. Nor wilt thou fear, O maiden dear, to wed tonight with me? Her long dark lashes swept her cheek. A word she could not find, for to and fro her thoughts did blow, like lilies in a wind. She toward him reached her little hand, then drew it back again. She smiled and sighed, all satisfied. He grasped her bridle rein, then clattered courtiers through the street. Fast ran the folk, I ween, and under feet strewed roses sweet, and boughs of apple green. The emperor, on his gold-shod horse, came pacing through the town, and by his side his timid bride rode in her tattered gown, a crocus-broidered petticoat, robes stiff with threads of gold. The maids found soon, and satin shoon, and lace and spices rolled. They led the trembling beggar maid all gently up the stair, through golden doors with sills of flowers, into a chamber fair. They loosed from her faded gear. They kissed her gentle face. From head to feet clad her so sweet, in linen fine and lace. They clasped her golden threaded robe. Darling, thou art so fair! With strings of pearls, amid the curls, they dressed her flowing hair. Now, party! Cried the emperor. The rose tree is in flower! In the world green was never seen queen half so sweet before. The people, dressed as for a feast, thronged round the palace doors. The minstrels sung, the joy bells rung, the roses fell in showers. The beggar king looked toward the town. Farewell, my daughter dear! The east was gray, he rode away, and swallowed down a tear. Christmas tide. Wake from your sleep, sweet Christians. W. Now, and listen. A little song we have, so sweet it like a star doth glisten, and dance along. Now wake and hark, all brightly it is glowing, with Yule flames merry, and o'er it many a holly sprig is growing, and scarlet berry, a bough of evergreen, with wax lights gleaming, it bravely graces, and o'er its lines the star that's eastward, beaming, leaves golden traces. Also our little song, it sweetly praiseth, like birds in flocks, when morning from her bed of roses riseth, her golden locks. But this it is that makes most sweet our story. When all is said, it holds a little child, with rays of glory, around his head. Wanted a map. Another map, and please you, sir. For why, we cannot understand. In all your great geography, there is no map of fairyland. Another map, and please you, sir. And afterward describe in full how fairyland is famed for pearls, and fleeces made from golden wool, and prancing, gold-shod, milk-white steeds, with bridles set with jewel eyes. Tell how the fairy rivers run, and where the fairy mountains rise, and of the fairy folk, their ways and customs, if it please you, sir. Then, of the journey there, how long, for any speedy traveler. Another map, and please you, sir. And would you kindly not delay, sister, and I would dearly like to learn our lesson there, today. The prize. Hie to the meadow, my dearies three. And hunt for some sweet, pretty thing for me. There's a cake in the oven with almonds, and spice, and raisins and citron, and all that's nice. To pay for the sweetest, my dearies three. When home from the field came the dearies /3. One brought to her mother a wild rose tree, and another brought her a blue jay's feather, and one of a gray goose tied together. And she was sure of the prize, was she. But the last little girl of the dearies three had sucked a clover bell like a bee, and tasted a columbine's honey tips, to sweeten a kiss for her mother's lips. And she got the beautiful cake for tea. Pussy Willow. Pussy, pussy, pussy. There she stood. Calling. Pussy, pussy, pussy. Her voice rang sweet and shrill. Yet still her pussy lingered, but on a bush beside her crept softly out an answer, a little pussy willow. The true and last story of Little Boy Blue. Little white clouds flew east through the sky. The bee, with his honey sacks read by, en route to his hive with his stolen sweet, with the gold of roses caught round his feet. And the farmer's dear little daughter, too, came tripping along in her ribbons blue. And the sweet little girl had a silver tongue, and she sang, as she came, a sweet little song. At Whitehall waited the prince's boat. The lark unravelled his silver note, as the river and garden he soared above. The brave knight thought of his absent love. The world wags merrily on, 'tis said, and the prince and the knight and the lark dead. Then the little girl stopped to take a breath, with never a thought of love or death. Green apple boughs met o'er the country lane. She sang her sweet little song again. In the meadow beside her red clover grew, and yellow-winged butterflies o'er it flew. And here and there moved a woolly back, for there were the farmer's sheep, alack! And the blue-eyed boy, who was told to keep out of the clover the frolic sheep. Under the haystack sleeping lay the golden noon of that summer day. Alack, alack! Cried the little girl. See Rosie and Lily and Star and Pearl, and all the lambs in the clover patch. The 5-barred gate he did not latch. Oh, where are you wandering, Little Boy Blue? How my father would scold if he ever knew! Ho, Rosie! Rosie! Out of the clover! Lily! Lily! You naughty rover! Out of the clover! Out, I say! Violet! Violet! Lady May! here and there, with her shrill, sweet shout. At last she had driven the sheep all out. Then she carefully shut the 5-barred gate. And Little Boy Blue, with his curly potte, still untroubled by aught like sheep, lay 'neath the haystack fast asleep. Oh, what is that rustling amongst the corn? Oh, Little Boy Blue, come blow your horn. The cows are eating the golden grain. The little boy stirred, then slept again. Ho! Buttercup! Buttercup! Out of the corn! Daisy! Cloverleaf! Silverhorn! She drove them all out and shut the gate. Then Little Boy Blue, with his curly potte, still troubled by nothing like cows or sheep, she spied, 'neath the haystack, fast asleep, the dear little girl, with artless joy, stood looking down at the sleeping boy. I have saved him a whipping, I know, she said. How the little curls shine on his pretty head. He ought to remember my father's sheep. But he looks so lovely there, fast asleep. Goodbye, Little Boy Blue, sleep well. The sheep are all safe, and I'll never tell. Then she kept on her way through the fragrant lane, and she sang her sweet little song again. Little Boy Blue woke by and by, when the sun was scarcely a half-hour high, and rubbing his blue eyes dim with sleep, slowly home he drove the cows and sheep. Then he ate his supper and went to bed, with never a thought in his pretty head. And he lived till his bonny gold hair was grey. But the little maiden, ah, well a day! Here lieth a sweet maid, aged 10. Robins and violets come again. The dandelion oracle. He, a little serious lassie still believing all she sees, now consults a dandelion as an oracle of Greece. Dandelion, tell me true, is my mother wanting me? Blowing, every feathered seedlet floats out, like a boat to sea. I must go now, mother wants me. Rude ness of this latter day, she has gaily trotted home, and flung the oracle away. The Christmas thrush. I will sing for you, dearie, a song that I know, of a ruby-eyed thrush, of a silver-tailed thrush, who sat on a spray of a dry willow bush, and sang to a queen in a palace of snow. The thrush's wing feathers were jewel and blue, and he spread them alway on a Christmas day, when he sang to the queen on his willow spray. Oh dearie, the honey-sweet song he knew! At her palace window the queen would stay, so pinky and fair with her curly gold hair. She merrily rocked in a crystal chair, and never a queen was half so gay. You want the queen in her palace of snow, and the ruby-eyed thrush, the silver-tailed thrush, who sat on a spray of a dry willow bush. Why, dearie, it's only a song, you know. Buttercup talk. I'll hold the buttercup under your chin. So, you fair little baby-o. Ah, you will love butter day out and in, for there's a gold light on your dimple-o, and you shall have butter so good and sweet. Ho! Silverhorn, feed on the clover and grass, for the buttercup says my love will love butter, and the buttercup's saying will come to pass. Wee Willie Winkie. Ho, Willie Winkie, and hey, Willie Winkie. Now through the window there floats, all laden with cargoes of beautiful dreams, a fleet of poppy boats. The stars, they are swimming like golden swans, and the moon, she has climbed the steep, and now through her silver ocean rides, 1,000 fathoms deep, like an arrow of light down the Milky Way, straight over the moonlit sea, with its crimson sails puffed out with wind. The fleet it sails to thee, and the child whom his mother has kissed. Good night, and the soonest shall fall asleep. The loveliest dream in the poppy boats will get for his own to keep. But ho, Willie Winkie, and hey, Willie Winkie, the child that will keep awake. The worst and the ugliest dream in the fleet is the dream he will have to take. Rose leaves round the window, they rustle so soft. All things that are little and sweet The rosebud babies and all the flowers. They wait for the poppy fleet. Grass waves o'er the sparrow asleep in her nest. The robins are sleeping all, and the echoes have died from the clouds. Away of the skylark's silver call. White doves are asleep in the tall bell tower. The skylark sleeps in his nest, and the baby prince has gone to sleep up on the fair queen's breast. Oh ho, Willy Winky, and hey, Willy Winky. The moonbeams they sleep on the sea, catch the loveliest dreams in the poppy fleet. And here is a kiss for thee. Wee Willy Winky sat up in bed, stubbornly shaking his curly head, when his mother had shut the door. Is the prince asleep? I would like to see. Is the robin asleep in the cherry tree? And every little flower? The flowers are awake and play with the bees. The robins, they sing in the cherry trees. And the prince is the gladdest of all, for he's merry and wide awake, of course. He is prancing about on his rocking horse, or else he is playing at ball. Wee Willy Winky sat up in bed, stubbornly shaking his curly head. The moon shone bright as day. I'll run through the town myself, said he, and see if they all asleep can be. I think they are all at play. Wee Willy Winky, no shoes on his feet, no hat on his head, ran down the street, and he called at every lock. Are your babies asleep in their cradles now? Do your lilies asleep in the night wind blow? For 'tis now 10 o'clock. Wee Willy Winky in his nightgown, little fat, rosy boy, ran through the town, his curly head damp with dew. Are the robins and babies and rosies all abed and asleep? He loud would call. If they are, I'll go too. To Wee Willy Winky, who loudly tapped at the window panes where the babies napped. A strange thing did befall. For the white-haired babies, the birds and flowers, who had slept and dreamed through the evening hours, he awoke from their slumbers all, and everything that was little and sweet came trooping out on the moonlit street, all crying out with glee. And through the streets of the silent town, with Wee Willy Winky ran up and down, as merry as they could be. Wee Willy Winky marched at the head, poor little White, quite pale with dread, a long line after him, twittering larks and murmuring bees, dandelions blown on the evening breeze, and tiger lilies grim, cooing babies and bleating lambs, stealing away from their sleeping dams. Behind him ambled and crept, singing tree toads and katydids, robin redbreasts and frolicsome kids, flew and hopped and leaped. And the gay little prince was there, of course, prancing along on his rocking horse, in his white silk nightgown fine. Wee Willy Winky, he shook with fear. Oh, what would I give, my mamma dear, to sleep in that bed of mine! Quite over the town the tumult spread. From many a window a night-capped head came cautiously popping out. The king awoke and began to frown. The foe, they are riding upon the town! The courtiers all did shout. Wee Willy Winky came up the street, crying aloud on his little bare feet, with his train to the palace door. Queer sights I have seen, quoth slowly the ring, but I never have seen, by my signet ring, a sight like this before. And what do you mean, I pray, wee sir? That the whole of the town you wake and stir at 10 o'clock of the night? That the babies, and birds, and lambs, and all, from their cradles into the street you call, and give folks such a fright? And you've waked the prince, halloed the king. And now will I, by my signet ring. Wee Willy, he screamed aloud. And lo! In his crib he was lying alone, and in at his window the great moon shone through a silver and amber cloud. Now ho, Willy Winky, and hey, Willy Winky! And what is the matter, my dear? And weep not, my rose and my lily and dove, for thy mother is with thee here. Wee Willy Winky sat up in bed, soberly shaking his curly head, with a sob in his pretty throat. I went to sleep the last, said he, And the worst of the dreams has come to me. In any poppy boat. But after this, I'll be first of all. I'll go to bed when the shadows fall, and the stars begin to peep. Then the loveliest dream in the poppy fleet, that will fill the room like a rose with sweet, I will get for my own to keep.